musician. My name is Paul. They call me Cappo. Background, round about 96, 97. Main background is when I was around about 16, me and my girlfriend at the time was sat on the bed and I pulled out some lyrics out of the bottom of the bed, and I said that I was writing a rap, and she didn't believe me, so then I spat the verse and she was impressed and she said that I should keep going, and that was like the main influences of why I kept going. I kept writing raps at the time, which involved a lot of swearing and a lot of rhythm and American poetry, which still happens now to a point, and that's the main place where I came from. I used to do some freestyling with a little dictaphone in my mum's garage with a couple of my friends, Rochelle and Labels, we used to call them. We used to call us, Rochelle was called Strider, my friend called Jason was called Labels, and I was Maniacs, I think, something like that. And we did a lot of freestyling and spitting bars, and Rochelle was always the best, and he would be able to do something where when we said all of our verses, he would be able to like clear his mind, he'd close his eyes, and then he'd say something amazing. So I knew that there was something in that, but I could never get to that level. So I think that's why I was hungry to try and keep practicing. So that's why I kept practicing, and like we went our separate ways, and I just kept writing verses. And beats wise, MP wise, around about 98, 99, I met one of my cousin's friends. We call him the Theorist now, who I still work with today, and he had an Ensoniq 16 Plus sampler. It's a big keyboard sampler, which you could put any sample in you wanted and then play down the keys, and it would, down at the bottom of the keys, it would be really deep notes, and it had its own quantize, something that Alchemist used to use. It just had its own sick sound, and Theorist was like a wizard with it. So I sat down with him a couple of times when I used to go around to his flat. He was living with my cousin at the time. They were sharing the flat, and he taught me how to make my own basic beats, and I was hungry to do that. So when he went on holiday for a couple of weeks, he lent me his Ensoniq 16 Plus, and I made a 15-track demo called The Cat Tape. And I took my hip hop connections at the time, the magazines that I had at the time, and I looked at all the artists that I had respect for, or that I knew that they were on labels themselves, and I sent it out to loads of labels and got some response, which was positive, and got some footage or a little bit of airtime. I got played on Westwood as well with one of my first releases, which was good, gave me some confidence, and went from there. Like, got signed to a record label called Sun Records and released several pieces of music on there, and hooked up with my mentor Styly C from Sun Records, because he was their in-house producer. So he was one of the first people. I went round to his house and I saw all the vinyl that he had, and then he started. The first time we met, I knew that I'd heard the beats he was making, and the beats sounded like Fat Joe would rap on them or something like that. So I knew he was along the same lines as me. He was straight up hip hop. There was a lot of people that I'd known in those days, they were all experimental with music, but he was straight up hip hop like I wanted to do, and he was making beats that I would want to make, so I knew that I related to him. But he's like in maybe a couple of generations before me. He was like a b-boy, and I think he was like body popping and locking back in the day when he was a kid, so he knew a load of more things about Nottingham, the Nottingham scene, than I did. So I would look up to him, listen to him, anything he had to say about the music. And the first time we met, he played me like original records that were on the Nas Illmatic album, and he'd say, "Oh, what's this from?" So and I'd have to guess what it was from, and he'd tell me what the samples were from. So it's like he was schooling me, basically. And that was like one of the first people who was schooling me to like the realness, like the culture. And from there, worked with Sun Records for a long time, releasing records, and from there hooked up with the P brothers along the way through different connections, through gigs, I think, through doing shows in Nottingham. And the P brothers were like heavily into the breaks and the history and the culture of hip hop, and still are now. And like they're connoisseurs of it and purists of it, and they taught me lots and lots about the culture and the attitude and the way to be and the psyche and the mentality, and they introduced me to progressive rock. Like, so in a way they like, I knew about hip hop, but they showed me like the origins of a lot of things to do with hip hop, to do with progressive rock mostly. Like what I remember them showing me, like Budgie albums and Black Sabbath breaks and Iron Butterfly and all that stuff came from them, really. Like they knew what they were talking about vinyl wise, like they know what they're talking about through and through. And so I picked up a lot of them, and we did some touring. And in the time we were touring and making beats, I used to live in Ruddington and had a little studio in Ruddington. When I purchased my MPC by this point, I saved up some money and purchased the MPC, and I was just making beats all the time and not finishing them. And they would come round, listen to the batch of beats that I'd made, that I'd play them. If they've heard anything that inspired them, they'd take it away, and either Paul S or Ivory would work on them individually and put finishing touches to them, chop up the samples better, tighten it up, resample the drums through different machines like MPC 2000 or 950, because they had a load of machines, and they just work on them. They'd hear the raw inspiration of it, and they would work on it into a finished product. And the finished product was Spaz the World, which was my first full album release that got released on True Thoughts at the time, and went triple platinum. And there you are. That's how I afforded the Caps mansion, and the helipad. So as the story goes, that's how it goes. First piece of music that I made was a tape called The First Night tape that was inspired like by medieval stuff, and it had like a sample from Hamlet. I think I found an audio tape version of a Hamlet play, and at the beginning it says the English power is near, and so I put that on the beginning, and found a lot of, I used to, wherever I could get it, I would try and take MFP records and all sorts of classical records that were just the cheapest thing you could find, and I would just listen to that. And a lot of the time what I did in the beginning is I spent a lot of the time on my own with a lot of just random vinyl, no matter what it was, just listening to it, because I had no musical background. Like, my father had a big musical background, but I didn't have his record collection at the time, and I didn't have his knowledge of music at the time. So that would have put me in good stead if I'd have had that then, but I didn't. So what I did, I knew I had an interest in music, so I took a load of vinyl, whatever it was. I didn't know head nor tails of what was good and what wasn't. So, and I still believe in that trait of don't be selective with what you're listening to, like, because just because you can't judge a book by a cover, you can't judge a record by the sleeve a lot of the time, or the label that it's on. So you have to have a listen to it. And like, of course I'm judgmental now, but back then I'd listen to everything and anything, and I spent a long time just doing that. And I used to have tape to tapes, like 2 tape decks, a vinyl player on the same hi-fi. I'd listen to the record until I heard something, and then I would record it, a small piece, and I'd write samples on the audio tape. Just have a tape chock-a-block with samples on it for I don't know what reason, because I never used them, but it was just something that I wanted to do before I had a sampler. So I was following the process in magazines, I suppose. And then every now and again I'd take a record, a random record, and I'd listen to it, and it would have a sample on that I would know from a track that I would be listening to, a rap song. So then I would realise that I was getting on the right track, and the closer I was getting, the more samples I'd be able to find by artists that I aspired to be like. So I'd know that I was finding the right track. Then Styly C and the people just put me on, the true straight and narrow of what to look for, how to look for it, and then through that you get schooled. then you start bringing your own characteristics and your own taste into it, and you look for the things that you enjoy. First piece of music that I made was the First Night demo tape. Had 3 tracks on it, and whenever I hear the 3rd track, I can't remember what it's called, I've still got the tape somewhere. Whenever I hear the 3rd track, I think it's called Knots Accolade, it's still one of my favourite beats I've ever made, because it was coming at a time when I can remember specifically that I think it was coming at a time when Phone Tap was happening by Dr. Dre, and Phone Tap had just come out. I think it might have been earlier than that or later than that, and I just remember thinking, all these big producers who I'm hearing when I'm listening to Westwood on Fridays, or when I'm hearing them, because there was no internet then, like, so when I'm hearing this music or I'm buying a CD, all the best beats didn't have any hi-hats. For some reason, like, the producers were just following the trend, and they were saying the most hardcore beat I'm gonna make didn't have a hi-hat for just for a space in time. And I don't see things in certain ways. I don't see patterns in certain ways that people do. People read things in different ways. That's how I read a pattern in production. I read that. I felt that a lot of producers weren't putting hats in the track, so I decided I'm not putting a hat in this track. So I just made a really strong bass line. I took a sound effects CD that had a train going through a tunnel, and I just kept playing that back and forth through it, and I just played kicks and snares, and it just sounded hardcore, and I just did like 24s or 32s on it because I didn't know how to read music. And I still do the same thing, really. I still do exactly the same thing, exactly the same structures, exactly the same process. It's just like banging your head against the wall to make the hardest core stuff you can, or the now like the most emotive stuff. Now I've got older, a little bit softened off now. It's more emotive now. I want to provoke an emotion, whereas before I just wanted to be straight up hardcore. Even had a New York accent, just spoke everything. Everything was like trying to be relatable to Queensbridge or something like that, you know. Even now I'm still trying to relate to that, but you realise your boundaries as you get older a little bit. But yeah, that was produced on the Ensoniq 16 Plus. The sampler that I was lent by my friend the Theorist, and then I got my MPC, and the relationship I had with the MPC was on and off for a while. I'm not afraid to admit that the MPC made me cry when I first got it, because I'd made some beats and I thought they were through the roof. I thought that I was going into another level, but I had a big manual, because at the time you had manuals that came with things. Like nowadays you don't have any manuals. You get a phone, you just get a box with a phone in, and you can just OK Google how to do it. OK Google, how does my phone work? Back then you had a thick manual. So I took trips to London and back sometimes when I used to go and see Excalibur, when he was just doing Real Deal or Deal Real Records shows early on in my career, and I used to have a pocket full of like oranges and whatever food I could bring with me. I'd have my writing pad, and I'd have the MPC manual, so I'd read it back there and forth. And back then it takes about 4 or 5 hours on the coach to get to London and back, so I'd have 8 hours to read the MPC manual. It's not what I'd call like the most vivid, intriguing reading, but it's something that interested me at the time. It taught me a lot of like secrets about the MPC, and I'll show you a secret later on if I remember how to find the volcano in the MPC. So you might not know how to do that. That's a rare thing. But yeah, we had a on-off relationship at the time, because I was in love with the MPC, and I still am in love with the MPC. But she decides sometimes to switch off from me when I'm in the middle of doing something that I feel is beautiful, and it's a relationship that I'm very I know well, and it hurts a lot. And so I remember one night, it was quite late at night, and I was upstairs, my mum was downstairs, and I was making a beat, and I was in another world, of course, making this beat that I thought there's nothing better than it. I thought, this is the next thing. If I was to play this to anyone, the next thing would happen, I'd be on a Learjet out to see Nas, because that would be it. That'd be my career sorted. And the MPC, I saved it on a zip drive at the time. I know I did it right. When I went back to it, it wasn't there, and it brought tears. So it was like the hottest curry, because it brought tears, and it made me. It aged me. It aged me and it schooled me. And hip hop's been hard to me, but it's been good to me, and the MPC has been good to me. She's strict with me, and she decides to hurt me every now and again, but you have to go along with, you have to roll with the punches. Pleasure and the pain principle. That's the main production process that I can tell you about. It's all about feeling. Yeah, I still use the MPC that I bought back then, and that's pretty much it. I haven't moved on technology wise. I'll admit that I want to, but I fear that moving on with the technology will hinder my process, like my speed of getting things done again, because it'll be like starting from scratch. That's one reason why. But another reason why I've kept with the same machine is because with art, I believe there's boundaries that you have to give yourself. I'm a person as an artist who needs the boundaries. You need the set times, you need the deadlines, and you need to have the basic. You need walls around you to be able to create. You need to be given what you're given and do your best with it. If an artist is given every colour in the world, every paintbrush in the world, and every type of canvas, they're just going to be sport for choice. So I stick with the MPC because it's what I know, and I can do anything on it I want. I can follow any type of music that I want to follow. When I was a kid, I used to draw a lot. I wouldn't draw from mind a lot. I would copy off things. I would take a comic book and I would copy it as best I could. Sometimes I used to draw grids on it, and then I would draw grids on a piece of paper and copy it as best I could. I was good at copying, and I'm not afraid to admit that what I do now is I follow what I feel is good, and I try to reinterpret it myself. I came up with this slogan thing called study, imitate, recreate, and then master. It's a process that I go through every single time I do anything to do with art, and that's why I need the boundaries. That's why I don't move on with my technology. That's why Akai, God's willing, the MPC will keep working for me, and I'll just keep working within those boundaries. If I prefer hardware or software, I would say I always use the MPC and then move on to enable somebody else to help me with the software process. So I'll use my MPC as the hardware, and I'll get the beat on my Iowa speakers from 96 Iowa speakers, or 1996, something like that, and I'll get it to sounding as best I can on those speakers. Then I'll take it to a studio, or I'll take it to my friends, and then we work on it and we get it to sound as best as it can, using like the aid of other people's minds, engineers. I can't do everything myself. I'm not afraid to admit that. So I'll make the beat as best I can. Then I take it somewhere else where somebody knows about software. Somebody can put the compressors on it, or somebody can EQ the sounds out. I found during the mixing process of my new album, the engineer that I'm working with, we work closely together whilst we're working on it, and I found how he works. It's like a car engineer or a car mechanic who is taking an engine, a broken up old engine of a car that's perfectly working, but then taking it out piece by piece and cleaning every piece off and then putting it back together so it just runs better. And that's what I think engineers do. It's something that I'd like to be able to do, but I think it takes years. I think it's a craft just like making beats, or it's a craft just like writing rhymes. And you don't want to be a jack of all trades. Only a certain amount of people can do that and be successful. And that's what I worry about. If I'm gonna, I'd like to be able to do everything myself, because then you can just follow your own focus. But it sometimes doesn't work like that. So software-wise, I need help with that from like-minded people who know how to make my beats sound how I would like them to sound. And I use the hardware. I just follow that. I just use the MPC. My favourite brand of music equipment would be the original Akai machines and the MPC 2000, because I still haven't learned all about it. The MPC 2000 XL, sorry, because I still haven't learned all about it, and I've been using it for maybe 15 years, maybe longer than that now. So, and it's lasted that long as well. So to say a piece of equipment will last that long, that's sick. And the pads are original, and I don't think I lightly hit the pads. I hit them reasonably hard, and I usually use the same pad to hit. So for it to still be working, it's through the roof for me. It's amazing. So the original Akai stuff, MPC 2000 XLs, I'm not fussy with the equipment though. If I had the money, I'd get all the equipment and try it all out. 'Cause I know so much other stuff to be done out there. But like I was saying, the MPC is like my piece of equipment. I don't know too much about other things. It's how I work, and it's probably how I'll stay now. I'm stuck in my ways now. Musical equipment that I would recommend to a beginner would be to the very beginning producer, just records and CDs. That's how I learned to do it, like just listening. And I guess if you've listened to a lot of music already and you've got the knowledge, then move on to Fruity Loops or those type of programs that are easy to use. You can put your own samples in there and you can whip up beats like fast. I know it's used all the time, Ableton and Fruity Loops. So something like that, but I wouldn't know. Like nowadays, just get a phone app, like get one of them phone apps with all the beats on, the drums on, because they're good enough, aren't they, for when you're learning. I'm sure a lot of the artists that you hear, sometimes they're recording the whole mixtapes on phones, right, and recording vocals on phones and stuff like that. So that's the way it's going. So just listen to music, and be open-minded with music. First and foremost, be open-minded. For a long time I wasn't open-minded with music, and it just locks doors to you, because you want to be militant and purist and stick to a certain product, but then it locks doors to you. So you have to open up, like, and listen to everything, and pay dues to things that you wouldn't normally, and that's how you start learning and progressing as an artist. And the main thing is, when you get to a certain point, you'll go back to if you're a producer and you use vinyl, just imagine if you're about my age, around about 35, imagine all the kids nowadays, they're looking at CDs, they've never seen them before. Like, so they look at CDs like vinyl, they look at VHS like vinyl, and that's what they'll be using as formats to be sampling from and taking from. So that's it, just listen to as many CDs as you can. Like nowadays, most producers are now just digging on YouTube. Like, you just dig on YouTube. How do you dig on YouTube? You just go to an artist that you like, or you just randomly choose and just keep digging, just keep listening. Eventually you might come to a video that you see that has, say, 1,000 views or 300 views, and it doesn't get shown anywhere else. Then you know you've got a rare song that not many people have heard. And that's going to be the new process, probably. The reason why I chose my MPC is because that's all I've known in my whole career, is making beats on the MPC and then watching others use the software to enhance the product that I've made. So I will go from MPC and go through that process until I've made it as clean and as good as I can get it within the boundaries that MPC gives me. Then I'll pass it on to the software person, and that person will engineer it, that person will clean it, enhance the drums, compress everything down. So it's, living in an era now where things are just like, waves are just like bang, the whole waves are just blocks of sound. So you got to have that balance. So I don't know how to make that balance, and I think it takes a long time to learn. So I'd rather get somebody that I trust to do it and work that way. So it can compete. I don't want everything to be like, everything to be as loud as it can get, where everything's distorting almost. I want there to be space with the song, but I want it to compete with things. You don't want somebody to be playing their MP3 player, playing something that's really loud, and then all of a sudden you play yours and it's low down. So that's just poor form. So you can't have that. So you just got to keep moving in. I use the hardware and then get help from somebody to use the software. My views on sampling are, my whole career is based on samples. All my inspiration for music is based on samples. Anytime I listen to music, it's very rare that it's not based on a sample, that I start getting inspired by it. I think most music, no idea is original. Nas said no idea is original. No, there's nothing new under the sun. Everything you hear has been done before. So much work now done by professionals in the music industry, where they will painstakingly listen to vinyl. then they will painstakingly recreate the sounds that they hear on vinyl to then chop up like it was a vinyl sample, interpolating, and then to use so they won't be caught for samples. Personally, me, I wish I was more prolific as an artist, like popular as an artist, to the point where I'd have to watch out for samples. I don't have to watch out for samples because I don't think anybody's coming for me and my $1 trillion that I've made in my career. So I think I'm safe to just keep sampling. It's how I've always worked. Samples are the greatest thing in the world. Like, you think about it, you take from a group in the 73, a group like a group of family members or something like that, all singing gospel songs, and you take just like the most heartfelt melodies out of that song, and then like the younger brother from the group starts playing the drums like a madman. You take the drums, it's amazing. It's the best thing ever. You're just taking the best thing you can, and it's not like you're not paying homage. In certain ways, you're not, because you're not giving them their dues in lots of ways. But it's not like I go out there to deliberately ruin and change the track or to ruin the tracks. I'm taking that thing they gave me, that inspiration, and I'm just putting drums over it. The process of, like, even now, like rappers, young rappers nowadays don't want to call themselves rappers because hip hop is cliched like that. They don't want to know about hip hop because it's not like that anymore. But they still do the same thing. The process of taking a sample and putting drums over the top is the best thing ever. Like, if I could do that every day and get paid for that, it's over. Like the Dilla life, you could do that every day. It's amazing. I mean, I'm not saying I'll get anywhere close to Dilla or anybody like that, but that lifestyle of being able to just listen to vinyls and just take the tiniest, intricate, most hypnotic pieces out of records. Out of an hour-long piece of record, you take 0.3 of a second, but it's got strings just like flinging through it like in a crazy time signature. Then you lock it in on the MPC, and it just plays and plays in your mind. And it's like Goldie said, it's the hummingbird effect, where it hits. There's a certain level, a certain vibration of the sound hits your mind, just opens you up, and that's what happens to me. So I listen to certain music. I think now I'm older now, I understand that it's like melancholic, something to do with the music that I most get open to is melancholic, like an isolation type of sound. But that's the vibration that hits me. That's what opens up, and I start feeling like I'm comfortable to start writing verses and getting the bars out there. Yeah, the genre and the kind of music that I find myself, that I have sampled most in my career, is progressive rock music, because those guys were out there. Like, they had the angst in there, the madness in there. They were taking all sorts of psychedelic drugs, and they were just, you know, I've never played an instrument. I'm not able to play an instrument properly, but just to be able to think that probably like back in the 70s or the late 60s, I hope that I would have been one of those guys who was playing the guitar or the drums in some mad, hazy, psychedelic dream world, just with making an album with a group that just had the most obscure name and the maddest album cover you've ever seen, just involving space universe and all sorts of stuff on the cover, just making the most spaced out music you can. I think that's, you know, that was the pinnacle of a lot of music, because it was just mad. It's just crazy music. So when you think about that, you can take a lot from that, because there's just madness on vinyl. So you just listening through it, take the pieces that you want, take the maddest pieces or the darkest pieces, and just keep moving like that. As a question of sharing samples, like the names of records and stuff, I'm not too bothered about it. I'm not gonna be keeping it to my chest too much. I've never experienced a point where I've never experienced the competition in music so much that I've mentioned a record to someone and they've taken what I've been doing and gone off with it and ran with it. So I'm not worried too much. I'm open with it. It's like I would rather just be known for doing it. Do you know what I mean? Like, be one of the people who did it. I remember there was an instance where Alchemist and another producer had the same beat out at the same time, and and he says, how do you feel about it? He says, yeah, I think it's cool. Alchemist said, yeah, I think it's cool, but I feel like I rock the drums better on the track, and that's it. So I'm not bothered. If somebody wants to take a sample, it's fair enough. Samples are out there to be taken, so what can you do? Sometimes there'll be a coincidence. You might release something at exactly the same time. I'm not wishing it to happen, but there might be a sample that comes out exactly the same time that you feel you had first. You just have to keep moving with it. You have to keep going with it, because that's the law of the land, because you're taking. So you're pirate baying other people's stuff, so you can't expect everybody to not have the same thing. Maybe it's being a bit stupid with it, like not keeping it to my chest too much, but I'm not too bothered. I'm just happy doing music, and I don't want it to become like a strict process where it becomes boring or it's too secretive and stuff like that. I just don't find that exciting with the music. I'd rather just share the music and, you know, just keep sharing the music. And if I've got an idea, I like to share ideas, because otherwise I feel like I'm keeping it to my chest, and then I feel like it goes stale just keeping it to myself all the time. You know, maybe that's not a smart move, and maybe that's why I am where I am at my career, but that's how I feel about it. Just be honest with it and enjoy it, you know, because that's when you think about it. When people reach stumbling blocks in their careers, you have to think back to when you were 12 or when you were 15 and you were first doing it. Did you need vices? Did you need other things to do it? No. Did you need to keep secrets to do it? No. You were just open-minded. You just did it for the fun of it. So you have to keep doing it like that, no matter what age you get to. As long as you're still having fun, you're being honest with it. What's wrong with doing it? Like, so that's how I feel about it. I don't go blaring out. Like I had a good idea for a video where you like in your verses, in my verses I take from Biggie, or I take from Nas, like the big influences of my career. I'll take from them, or I'll mention a certain artist or a film. I'll mention a phrase from that. I had a good idea where you would do that, and all the way through the video you'd put a little reference at the bottom, like an academic reference, where that certain line came from. You'd have like a little number one where the line comes in on the track, and the one at the bottom in small writing would tell you, taken from film A. The phrase here is spoken by Al Pacino, B, whatever. So I thought that was a good idea. Just be honest with it. I understand how people can't be honest with it. It's a business at the end of the day. If you're selling, if you're making a lot of money out of music and then you give the game away about where the sample came from, they're coming for you. So you can't do that. So it's pretty much stupid of me to even think like that. But I don't go blaring it out. I don't go blurting out about it. But if I'm proud of something, I don't want to keep it to myself too much. Like, I'd rather let it keep it moving. Acquiring samples has always been using vinyl, although I'm open to hearing something on YouTube. If I can't find it, sometimes go on the share sites and stuff like that, try and find that album. If I can't find it on vinyl, there's been times when I remember samples, I need to get them again, I've had to download them. Been times I've used YouTube. Most of the time I'll go to Rob's Records in town. Like he's the main guy. His shop has been there for years, and it's full of vinyl to the point where it's a dangerous place to be. It's like trying to climb up cliffs that are all with loose rocks, because if you pull out the wrong vinyl, you're gonna get killed for it, because about 4 crates of vinyl is gonna fall on your head. So that's where I get my vinyls. Last time I went to see Rob, it's rare that I go now. Last time I went to see Rob, I didn't go to the progressive rock section. I didn't go to the soul sections that I used to. I went to the 80s sections because things move on. Like, and nowadays, those covers look mad now. 80s covers look mad. Like the 70s covers, all the progressive rock ones, they're still crazy. But the 80s ones now, they look vintage and strange in the way that they were doing their covers. I'm very inspired by the covers as well. It's like imagine the pieces of work. They're like big slabs of art. Vinyls are like big slabs of art you can stick on your wall. They're massive, like a poster. Like MP3 is just a tiny little picture in the corner. It seems strange to me because it's taken away the visual side of it. But music is music. You shouldn't have to have any visuals with your music, really. My favourite sampler is the MPC 2000 XL. Something that I worked with for a long time. and I love the process of making beats on it. I saw once, I know Jay Dilla used it, and I know Kanye West used it. I've seen him using it. I know the greats used it, and I know everybody's in conjunction with it. Everybody's seen it. I just wanted to mention, like a while back when Kanye West released the My Dark Twisted Fantasy a few years ago, I watched a film that he'd made, like an avant-garde film, where he made this angel do a dance in his apartment or whatever, and he played the MPC. And what you might, you look at Arab music, and he plays the MPC like a beast. And that's a whole art form now. He's created an art form. He fathered the art form of playing the MPC, performance playing. I can't do that, but if you can, go watch that Kanye West thing, because he plays the MPC like an artist as well. Like the way he played it is a way that I can't explain. He did a track called Power. He took the samples from the MPC, obviously sending a message to like the hip hop culture who might watch it, to say that he still is a creator and a craftsman in that way. And he played the samples in an opposite way to how they're played on the record, to how they're played on the track Power. And that to me is a big thing. Like those type of things, when I see the MPC still today being used, it's a great thing for me. I wanted to get the MPC 5000. I was too scared because it's made by a different company, and everybody was saying how all the equipment was weak and it was like plastic, and it's not like the MPC. So in the end, I always end up trying to thinking, right, okay, I'll get the money together, I'll get another piece of equipment. I never do it. And as you get older, you just start to realise, like, you get stuck in your ways for a reason. I think, I'm still progressing with my music. I'm still open-minded, but with the boundaries, I've got my pad and my pen, and I have my canvas and my paints, and I just use them. Right? So as long as they're still working, I just keep using them. I would say when crafting a joint, when making a track, the samples and the drums are as equally important. I know other producers who is drum led. Everything's drum led that I do. I will make sure the drums work. Whereas a lot of artists will not quantize, I quantize. And it comes to a point when I listen to the track and the drums aren't working, that I've never been able to just take the drums and chop them in so they just play tight. I can never do that. What I do is a painstaking process that is, it's like the 10% creation is the process. How I make a beat most of the time is I take a load of vinyls and I listen to them and enjoy the records, and I take pieces that I'm happy with, and then I'll go away from them. I'll make a small little snippet of a beat that has a feeling that I like, and later on I'll go back to it when I haven't heard it for a long time. It's like somebody else hasn't made it. Then I'll go into it. Then I will chop it up, and I will chop it up into. I won't chop it into 1, 2, 3, 4s. I will chop it into 1, 2, 3, 4s. So you have, like, in one bar you have maybe 4 pieces perhaps, or if you understand what I mean, like 4 bars I'll have 8 or 16 chops, and then I play them in. And what happens is, if you chop the sample right, you can chop the beginning a little bit far away and the end a little bit far away, and it's just a process of going into each sample and taking away from the back, or putting into the front, or lengthening at the back or the front, until you find that it works. Like a lot of my new album, it's just how I did it. I just chopped up stuff until the cows came home. It's a long process, and it's a boring process. It's not the process that I'm happiest with, but it has to be done, because I am a perfectionist with my music. I can't just let something go if it's not. Sometimes music, rap-wise, you can make a feature out of your mistakes. Sometimes your mistakes are the best part of a verse. But with the beats, you have the time. Spend a lot of time on beats. I don't know how many hours I spend on beats, but it's a long time on not that much material that I've brought out. So I know that it gets to me if it's not working, and I'll have to chop it more. Like if a piece isn't working, if a piece of bass is playing out, I'll have to chop that piece of bass out and maybe split it into 3 or 4 and play it back in. Like it's just a way of doing it that works for me. and it's, you know, it's worked for me, because the proof is in the pudding that I've had material out there that I'm happy with. It sounds like how I want it to sound. So golden era equipment to me would be the MPC 2000 XL, because it's all I know. I've had experiences with other samplers. The Ensoniq 16 Plus was like a powerful machine as well, because you could compress it yourself, so that had a lot of good reasons to purchase it. So yeah, either of those are like the top things now. I don't know if you can still get them. You can't get them new, but I don't know if you'll be able to get them somewhere. Dre used the 3000, Dilla used the 3000. There's so many of the vintage ones. But if it was my advice, 2000 XL, probably get one for 400 or 450 on eBay. You know, and they're a piece of equipment that's endless, really. I would say my two favourite musical instruments are the drums, first and foremost, because the drums, everything is led by the drum. Like, that's the originator. And then I would say, if I could, it'd probably be the human voice, like, because that's the other element that I look for the most probably. So you got the bear skins and the sticks, and you've got the edges. Like, if you're looking for, you've even got the 808s. Like, the 808s are so amazing. Like, that as a package, the sound is so sick. And like the edge of a drum, when you hit it with the wooden stick, the sound like that, it's such a sick sound. And then combine that with the human voice, and there you have it. Like, that's all, you know. A lot of my music has been that, pretty much. Like, take a break with probably like one guitar stab at the start, and then the rest is just wild drums, like LSD influenced drums from some crazy rock group from some mad Glastonbury festival or something like that being recorded, and then I just rap over that. So there you go, the human voice on the drums. I would definitely, if I could learn to play two instruments of my choice, I'd probably, first choice would be the piano, because to be able to sit down at a piano, you can, when you start putting the chords out, like, that's another world, you know. When you see the keys, and it's so simple just to have a play, but when you actually see somebody who has some knowledge of it and the way that they can begin something, and just the volume of the keys and the feel of the keys when you hear it, that's something else. So I definitely like want to, in the future, when the album goes platinum and I've got a bit more time on my hands after the world tour and it's all gone well, then I will learn to play the piano. Then it'll be the drums, because after you play the piano, you're nice and calm, you just go and smash the drums out for a while. The drums are loud as well. So yeah, those are the two instruments that I would want to play. If I could have two producers of my choice to work with on a joint, I would use Dilla and Quincy Jones, because them together, imagine that. And I would never be able to get a word out. Like, I'm not putting any verse on that track, definitely not. I'm probably not even, I'm just going to sit in the studio and watch them two, probably, you know. So that's what comes to mind anyway. Like, just the power of music those two would put together would be through the roof. There's another producer that I can't remember his name, which is a shame, but I used to listen to a lot of a female artist called Judy Suit, and she was like a popular singer in the 70s, I think, in the 80s. But she had albums like called Cars, I think, and Welcome to the Cruise, and the producer of that shit was amazing, like sample wise, through the roof. You spent a lot of time sampling Judy Suit, because that producer, I can't remember his name, but he was fucking sick. That guy was amazing. So yeah, I'd probably get him on the phone as well, like just try and get him to have just get Quincy to play the track down the phone, get Dilla to just play the drums for a while, and let him have the final say on it, probably. I don't know, something like that. My top three producers, dead or alive. Dilla, definitely. It's hard. That's a really difficult one. because I'm afraid I'm gonna miss a lot of things out. I'm gonna say Clams Casino as well, like, because some of the beats that he's made, like, are up there with some of the most emotive stuff I've heard in a few years. So there's like your contemporary one. Dilla all time one. I don't know. I can't really say. I can't say Dre, for the fact that I don't know whether Dre made all of his beats. I don't know. Who does? I'm gonna say Kanye West, which I don't know whether that's a good choice or not, but that's missing out on so much music, which is disappointing to me, because, like, you know, I would even say, like, producer wise, like, the person behind the music would probably say something like Tony Iommi from Black Sabbath or something like that for their first album. You know, I think, like, I came up with a concept called The Drifter, where the Drifter was on one of the albums that me and Stylish C made, where the Drifter would be this spirit that travels from musician to musician. And so that's where, you know, consistency, Dilla, the spirit, like the Drifter travels to, like, Clams Casino, and you got that first Black Sabbath album through the roof. There's so much though, so much, like, that has that. That's a hard thing to say, but yeah, those people up there. Kanye West always consistent, always. I think I would say Kanye West simply for the fact, like I was talking previously, I was mentioning about how sometimes, you know, producers follow trends. One of the trends that I believe Kanye West started off was the one where he sped up the vinyl. Like, that's no joke. Like, I don't know whether that's true or not, but was Kanye West the one to play a record that people have played for years and years and took all the samples off? Was Kanye West the first one just to put it on 45 and say, yeah, I'm just going to use the ballad one? Because that's something of genius, like, that can't be taken away. And it's unfortunate in you know, all eras of hip hop, sampling is taken. So even the person who invented certain genres and styles, they don't really get the recognition for it. You're lucky if you make your money for getting recognition of what you've done. So, you know, I think anyway that Kanye West sped the vinyl up. So you have to, you know, that made a whole new era of music, because you could take those old vinyls that had all been used to death and speed it up. So all the songs that you were too slow to put on a 90 BPM became able to be 90 BPM, and all the sonics of the song just went higher. The drums all sounded more high pitched. It just changed the whole era of hip hop. Was that him? I don't know, but I know that, like, right down to The Wire and all that must have been close to the original ones, where they started speeding shit up, I think. Yeah, the people that I'm feeling right now are in America. I listen to a lot of American music, and I do follow, like, the youth. So I'm following a rapper called Bones heavily right now, and Xavier Wolf, because they're doing something different. Clams Casino beats wise, I'm feeling. Here, like local, like here and now wise, Juggernaut from Nuts and Vandal Savage from Nuts. They always have something to say that always inspires me, and that's whether that's bias or not, because I work with them anyway. But those are the people that I listen to and that I will have time for over here. They're in America. There's so many. Like, I'll tell you who somebody inspired me. Like, it goes from piece to piece, just like I was saying. It drifts from person to person. So from time to time, somebody will just get that inspiration that I feel is right. You know, I respect anybody who's doing their craft properly, but I can't, like, those are the people that come to mind. Those are the people that I listen to the most probably, and like, those are the people that I listen to a lot in the car, as well as myself. And I have to say that I inspire myself a lot. Like, so I listen to my new album and I'm happy with how it sounds, and so I inspire myself the most. I'm most probably the person that I listen to the most, which is a selfish thing, but it's because I'm doing what I want to hear, and that's it. There's a lot of artists out right now that I have a lot of time for, but I just can't think of their names right now. some of the beats that I've produced from my new project that is coming soon. Depending on when you're watching this, DVD, it's coming soon. Like if you're watching it, you know, when it's happening. If you're watching this in the future, like if you're watching this in the year 3005, this beat will already be out there somewhere in the world. The process of how I make beats is I'll take this vinyl here. This is from a group, Tangerine Dream. This is one of my dad's favorite progressive rock bands. Look at that. And if you notice here, look at all the artwork and the time that's put into it. It looks like some space-time continuum you're going into. Then look, open that up. Look at that shit for a while. Look at the design on that. What does it say? Stratosphere. They're playing on the word stratosphere. Then look here. Right down here. This is the stuff you have to look out for. The design word. It's on Richard Branson's label at the time. And then on the back, look at all the work they put into it. Amazing artwork and that. So when you spread that out, look at that. That's all you need. You don't even need music when it's like that. Look at that. So you're traveling into that world. If I can angle it right, you see? See that? But yeah, this is one of the beats that I've made recently. So I'll break it down. Like, I'll solo out the drums. So like I was saying before, I've used a lot of like, I'll chop this stuff into milliseconds, literally like, because I'll hear the drums, and I like how the drums rock, but I hear the drums, I like how the drums rock, but I can't live with that, because I'm like a perfectionist, and I hate myself for that. I just can't let the drums rock, like I have to use quantize. That's how I do things. So what I have to do, if it's not working, I have to chop it into pieces. So this is how I chop it into pieces. So I have these. You hear all that? And I think it goes on even more, like, I think I probably used every pad. I used every pad. I've got 4 banks here. I've got 4 banks. That's all I've got. I've got boundaries that I have to use. These are the reasons why I do the things I do. All of you new lot with your futuristic equipment, you got banks for years. I have 4 banks. I have HSBC, TSB, Lloyd's, and what else have I got? Santander, and that's not many. So you hear all that shit goes on. Jets in there. That's for this shit. See? We've got the jet noise. There's always a jet noise. What? If you don't have a helicopter or a jet noise in your track, you can go die. Because that's what you need in this day and age. Look, I'm proving a point to you. I've got every pad used. And I know that's not much of a point to prove, but I'm using every pad. Not for every track, but mostly every track. When I first made this beat, it's probably using 3 pads, just letting it all rock together. It probably sounded all right to use like that, but then I'm a perfectionist. I have to do it to the point where it's like that, until it gets so boring, until it's so rigorous, I can't even hear it for a while. So I have to let it go for a bit. But yeah, so back to the drums. And then you put them all together like that. You have to chop them up. Take all the little edges down, take all the little edges off, neaten them up, and to the point where they're not overlapping. Anybody who knows the sampler will know what I mean. When the drums or the sample overlaps, you can hear it. It starts to get really mucky, like the sound gets really dirty, and that's what I tried to avoid. But to keep cleaning it up, like I said before, I use the hardware first, and then take it somewhere else for them to clean it up. Let an engineer who knows what they're doing clean up what I'm doing. That's how I work. And then so there you have it. And this track had a breakdown as well in it. I'm just trying out new things. So this track had a like a breakdown somewhere. Like I've got, I don't know, probably use about 40 sequences, something like that. It's like a rigorous thing that how I do the beats. That's why it takes a long time to make the beats that I make. I can't make them fast. So there's one of the beats from the new album. So this is another beat that I made. Kept it down in the low 70s, probably 70 BPMs. Took a sample from Lindsay DePaul. Took a sample from a major artist as well. He's one of the most known artists in the world. And made this. And how I did it was the same process as I always do it. Is the first time I made it, it's probably about 10 samples. Next time I filled up all the pads, because I just fill up all the pads. So when you break it down, I'll break it down a little bit. But before we break it down, after where I got like the essence of the drums from for all of my new album that I'm building it in right now is from this album. I got a lot of inspiration from this album. It means a lot to me. This was released on Ill Boogie Records in Hollywood, and this means a lot to me because it's obviously a dedication to me. You know, Cappo's Jag-Off breaks, and it's something that I gain a lot of inspiration from. I spent a lot of time with this album, just staring at the artwork. I think it's a real piece of high art. And if you, as we did with the Tangerine Dream, we'll focus in further on the artwork to the music. Just let it sink in, ladies and gentlemen. And as the beat changes, change the view for you there. So we all take inspiration from different places. This album's meant a lot to me. I got a lot of drums from this, a lot of drums off here. Dedicate my album to this record. So yeah, so you break down this. Well, that's already a shock to me because that's more than I'd usually have to chop every piece of sound up there. But obviously I found that the timing was right with that. It was tight enough. Right. So you got your samples, strings, like spaced out strings. Yeah. Got your bass. Always take, a lot of my basses are from the same thing, from a Rakim song. I found like a length of bass. So I believe in putting in like the greats into the music. You got that. This 950 I think was left on a floppy disk from a long time ago by Paul S from the P Brothers. So I always still use that. It's just the power. It's the power there. And when you load it up, it's really loud as it is, so you don't have to turn it up. It's just giant. You always have to turn it down. There's a snare to add additional sounds. And that's my mum there. So my mum was rapping at the time. She used to ghostwrite a lot of lyrics for me, and one of the beginning of her, here's my mum here. So there's my mum, very strong woman, a staunch woman, a very beautiful woman, and she is saying this. So just picture this. Yo, 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 yo. Okay, so that's my mum doing a thing on the track. You've got the NAS matches hidden behind there, just in case you need to light up the fire. So there you have it. There, that's the magic behind the music. And here, like, here's a sample that I break down. Coins. See, that's giving away too much already, so I can't do that anymore. So you can hear. So there's a lot of repetition, just playing things out, getting into the zone. Yeah, I like this. This was a part of the end, but I just like playing these. Sounds like Primo or something like that, or an Alchemist chop. Well, what I'll do is I'll play it for a while, and if you feel like, if you're watching this on YouTube or the DVD, if you feel like making a beat out of this, then go ahead. So I'll play it for a minute. So don't say I never give you anything for free, because that stuff was good stuff. And we'll move on from there. Here's another piece of art that I worked on for a long time with the needle and thread. See, the difference with this one is that I wrote this as a score and was lucky enough to be travelling past Maida Vale when a good friend of mine in the high art business, the inner circle that I roll in, was conducting the London Philharmonic. So they allowed me to go into the Maida Vale and pass out the score sheets that I managed to photocopy at the local library, and the orchestra played this piece of music for me, which I obligingly recorded on my phone app, brought it home and chopped it into pieces like this. This ironically contains screams from a Bill Cosby comedy record, so you take that how you like it. But in this climate, I did this a long time ago, so you have to just take that how you see it, and we'll leave it at that. So yeah, I tried to use the big snares, and now this is my process. So here's the process. So here's what I call the pig's ear scroll. So you probably won't be able to read any of this, what I call words on here, but I say these words that are written on this paper into this phone when it's loaded up, and I record all my verses on this first. Then when I've got my basic verses out, I don't listen to it for a while. And when I go back to a piece of paper like this, I can't read it, so I have to listen to this and work out and rewrite it. I rewrite a lot of stuff. Before I go to the booth, I rewrite it all out in capitals. So that's how I do things. So I got it neater in my head, like. Yeah, using the drums again, chopping the drums up a lot. Got 808 hat in there. So if we break it down, you got the orchestra sounds. So you can hear this. I had a real problem with this track because of the trumpet sounds. This intricate. That's that there. I got a little Wayne sample in there. It kind of drops on the beat. You gotta feed me. It's supposed to drop on the beat. And I took some Beastie Boys. So yeah, as you can see here, there's a couple of pads that are empty. See that one? So there's space there. It's not on often occasion that there's a space on the pads. So then you got like then I start to get in trouble with the strictness of it, and then I have to chop things up to this. That's ridiculous, because like who needs a something that sounds like that? So really, that's a ridiculous thing to do, and I'm angry with myself for ever chopping something so tight like that. So then eventually it goes like that. But why? Why do that? So I often question, look, listen to that. It's just... There's a lot more to it, but you must understand it's a frustrating... That's Cosby there. The original. Right. So that's my production name there. So yeah, this was the problem that I had with the horns here. They wouldn't fit, they wouldn't be tight enough, just like everything else in my life. So I had to chop it all the time. Chop everything up. Painstaking. Maybe using time stretch sometimes, it takes such a long time. Like that. Till then, so you can only just hear it. It's the agony in the music. You must be able to understand that. So picture the scene when I was inspired to make this beat. Nowadays, everybody wants to replicate technology malfunctioning. Like in the visuals that you use, everything's malfunctioning around you. Everything's pixelating or fuzzing up. Different ways of making everything seem raw or old, or in all those different ways. See, what we were doing, me and my son were going through somewhere. I can't remember where it was, but we used to play LL Cool J's first album a lot, like all the time, because it was fun to listen to. It was good and it was honest and it was good music. So we were listening to LL Cool J, and because we played it so much and handled it so much, it got some scratches in. So the CD skipping. So there's your idea. So you have the CD skipping throughout the track. But it only skipped in the car because it was only skipping in the car. So when I played it in my house, the CD just played normal. So what I had to do was imagine a CD skipping and then make a beat out of it. So I made this. Because this is what it would sound like in the car. And we used to like it. So it's almost like a CD skipping. So this is probably one of the only beats that I've ever made without quantize. Because everything else is too strict. But this one I decided to go loose with, just to let myself off the hook a little bit. So some of you LL connoisseurs might know what the track is underneath it. And there you have it, there's another beat. So another piece of inspiration for this piece of music was her. So if you imagine as the music's playing, just focus on her face, how it makes you feel. So how do you feel? Do you feel like her or like him, the crow, watching her? So that's what you have to think about, because music is more about that nowadays. So yeah, this is one of my favourite albums. Some people in the know might know that Spaz the World took inspiration from this visually as well. So yeah, that's one of the big ones. So yeah, music for me is about inspiration, and it has to have emotion. And this is the type of shit that I'm on now, like. So this is the type of beats that I'm making. Obviously, like, this is I've written to this. And the lyrics go something like, one thing's for sure, I'm 1,000 miles from home, but I always end up thinking of you when I let my mind drift. Often heard, but rarely seen, and I always end up thinking of you when I let my mind drift. Sober floating, high when I'm in your presence. Overdosing, love when I make you smile, when I make you laugh out loud. Slow motion, take our time in. Pass that now. Conversating, reveling your honesty, and I'm drinking boiling water, vices free, the same as me. As an afterthought, replay that. We are opposites, and the opposites attract, there's no subtracting that. Your reactions, I respect that. Your life and your goals, I protect that. You and our main investment, I protect that. Be all end all, I accept that. And the music's still my class A. Dedicated like I tap vein. Written out like it's my last days. Trying to get paid in that fast ways. Government name so separate from it. Poignant, when I wrote you will learn some type of lesson from it. underground, soul and heart, the essence of it, undeniable, under the cap and the umbilical cut, I know. One thing's for sure, I'm 1,000 miles from home, and I always end up thinking of you when I let my mind drift. But you have to wait for the new album to hear the rest. But as we're still continuing, this is one of my big inspirations for music. You know about how rigid and strict I am with the music, but these guys weren't. This album is the heaviest album you'll ever get. Look at this. This is something else. Like, so there's the font, the artwork is amazing on the record. I think it's all recorded on tape or something and then put onto vinyl. Well, yeah, you'll have to have a look at that in a minute. Let me just break down the drums here. So this, to me, it sounds pretty fluid. Doesn't really sound stiff. Especially once we've compressed it in the studio, it won't sound stiff. So it has that flow. We put the 808 hats on it, rolling over like. And this was chopped to pieces again because I couldn't live with it just being a whole loop, unfortunately. So I had to go in on it again. I'll show you how I did it. Painstaking effort. So there's all your pianos. So here, like, listen to that. That's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard from any producer. Like, I chopped that. You see, you have to do it like. See, it's a lot of work. You can do a lot with it when it's chopped up like that though. That's probably the Rakim bass again. I use that a lot because it has a certain magic to it. Yeah, it definitely is actually. With this Rakim bass that I found, whatever tone it has, I can slow it down to like, with this I have a tune pitch and I can have it up normal speed and I can slow it down to like that. And it still sounds perfect, still sounds level wise, volumes wise, it's good. I don't know what record it was from. But yeah, then I got the robots in here, like. You can hear people in the background. So what's that like? When you break that down, how many music, like how many pieces of robot voice can you hear in that? Is that 7 or 8? 7, 14, 21, 28, maybe 30, 32 sounds in there, look. And that's what I look for in a piece of vinyl. Like, I'll hear that. How long does this last seconds wise? 1, 2, 3, maybe 3 seconds. But it's got like 30 things happening in it. And then you put drums on top of that, it's got maybe 40, 50 things happening to it. Like, think about it that way. Like, what's it doing to your head when something is playing like that and there's so many sounds happening at the same time. Like, so that's basically how I work with music. I've got inspiration from vinyl, and I always take inspiration from vinyl. This is probably like my prized possession. This was my father's. It's a record that is amazing. I don't know whether anybody else has got this copy. I think this is a magic record that I only have. But look at this shit. Like, what is this? What the fuck is that? That's the most amazing thing I've ever seen. And then on the back, you see him. He's in the zone. Like, he's hearing this. He's hearing this. You can't deny that. And that's it. Information about it. Look at all the artwork and stuff. It's amazing. So there, that's it. That's my process. That's how I work. That's the mind power composition behind how Cappo makes his music. That's it. There's nothing more to it. Yeah, so I'm chopping up pieces of the Rakim beat that I found. So I'm repeating the chopping process. I've slowed it down by about, I don't know, about 50% maybe or something like that. So I'm not trying to have it sped up. I'm trying to have it slowed down. So I'm now like just going through minuscule samples, listening for just a slight thing. So there's a snare there. We'll try and use the snare, but I think it sounds too slowed down. So I'm just going to use the hat instead. I'm going to use the hats because I'm happy with the way the hats sound. So we'll take that because it's a good sound on its own. So we'll take that. Just going to add something to it. So we'll chop that up, add it to the sounds we've already got. And before we add it to the sounds we've already got, we have to edit it down, chop it to pieces, and then just find the start point as neat as we can. Because I'm doing it on a time budget, I'm just trying to do it just like that, okay? So now what we've got is like a kick. It doesn't sound so good. And then we need to slow these down to the same speed as the other samples, which is 50. See what we found, see what we had before. We just chopped up a load of things and then we're just slowing them down. So yeah, you're gonna have to do it pretty rapid. That's the original. Slow that down as well. Yeah, I like that sound. So let's see, I don't know whether I've been able to find enough samples. I think it sounds good like that though. So let's just chop it in one for now, because this is probably what I would do in the initial beginnings. Yeah, so now I'm just going to find one long loop of it just to see what that sounds like. See if I can find the BPM of it. So I'm just repeating the sound just to try and get it as close to as possible. Okay, then I assign it to the pads. Turn up to full levels, so it's all good levels, good levels. Then take it off the polyphonic so it's not going to play over itself, so you mono it so it'll play. So now there you go, that's what I'm going to do. Alright, so maybe put that on note off, or maybe not, we'll see how we do it. And we'll assign the others. So I always assign them down the numbers, and then just play with them. See what you get. See, that one sounds a little bit off, so I need to neaten that up. Make sure that it's on point. See, that's one. If I get in trouble, I've got like a backup hat that's clean, without the other sounds in it. So now just programming in the hats again. Working to a time limit. And there's your hat there. This is something. Maybe even like keep that the high speed, keep everything together with that one. So like I'm looking for maybe 65, maybe something like that, maybe I'd say 65 right now, that's what I work on. So then I'll just do a slow it down. Okay, so now you can hear that the sample is not clipping, or you can't hear the silence behind it. So we'll just lay that in. Like with the quantize. Maybe layer that on top of it. Now I'm just going through a load of samples that I've already found before, looking for some type of 808 drum. See there, you got your clean 808. I'm going to put it on the pad bank B because it's clean. And you're not supposed to hear that. That's an industry secret. So now I'm just loading up a load of drums and then just seeing how I feel about it. And then maybe not have the time to put a bass line in it right now. That one's probably the one. Just load that up nice and easy. Maybe change that up just a little. Let's put it in the basic way. Maybe that one's hardcore, the kick drum's hardcore. So, we're putting it in. So you got your extra hat. So really what it needs now is one long line of bass. So let's go back to the industry secret and use that, because we may be able to get away with that right now. Let's see if we can find it again. Yeah, let's put that there. And then we take the frequency down so you can't hear that, all you hear is. So you might be able to pick that up on the camera. And that might be even in the same, that might be even in the same. It's almost there, it's almost there. It's pretty much there. like what I like to do is like my version of a piano, and then tune that down, tune down the bass. Readjust it a little. So that's what you can do with an MPC 2000 XL. What you can do with an MPC 2000 XL is adjust all the sounds so the tunes are slower. Like put one of them Jalil beats things where the bass hits off the end of it. There you have it. That's a beat I just knocked up. Just something for you to think about. It's a process that I tell you. I had to do it off a CD today, so I work on in any which way that I need to do it. But yeah, so it's got the basics in there. See, I think that's got potential. That sample's got potential. So maybe I'll work on it at a later date.